We are here to talk about championships and what it means to be a champion, what it means to hold the strap, the world. Oh, I should have brought it out. That would have been funny. I've got a world title belt in there right now as we speak. But what it means to be the heavyweight champion of the world, not just the heavyweight champion, actually. We're going to broaden that out, right? Because there's other championships. The tag team championship, the Intercontinental, the United States, that's just WWE. The TNT title, the TBS title, the trios title, the never open weight, the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. I've seen so many different indie belts, the social media champion, the interstate champion, the interborough champion, champion. What does it mean to be a champion? What is the point to it all, right? Because we're living in a world where everybody is of the impression, and rightfully so, that professional wrestling, we don't use. Oh, I just dropped this key that I really, really need. I just dropped this key that I really, really need and can't reach. There it is. We don't have the same definition of it that it used to mean. It's kind of changed over time. And no, I didn't say that it evolved. It changed. And it changed because people changed it. Because people saw what it meant, understood what it meant, but were so dead set on becoming part of the group that would have the honor and the privilege of being called champion that they were willing to manufacture it themselves. We call them belt marks in the industry. Just guys that just want to walk around with a strap, walk around with a championship title belt, just for the sake of saying that they're a champion, regardless if they live the part, behave the part, eat, sleep, breathe the part, perform like the part, go through long nights and early evenings for the part, represent the company as the champion and play that part. They don't want to do all that, but they do want to be the champion. So we're going to talk about that here today. We're going to talk about what it is to be a champion. Before we get into the champion situation in pro wrestling, on a larger scale, what does being a champion mean? When you perform in sports and you win a championship, if you become the NCAA heavyweight champion in wrestling, if you become NCAA basketball champion, if you become NHL Stanley Cup world champions, if you win a World Series, if you win the NBA Finals, if you win, that's like this past weekend, you win a Super Bowl and you're the Super Bowl champion, what does it mean? First and foremost, both in the real world and the kayfabe, it means the same. It means you're the best. That's why it's called a title. You're holding a title in the form of a belt. The belt is a physical form of said title. That means that you represent your sport or your event or your team or whatever it is you're the champion of. That means you represent that. So, for instance, the Seattle Seahawks just won the Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl 60. That means for the 2025 to 2026 season of the NFL, the best team was the Seattle Seahawks. You can debate all you want in the comments. You can debate all you want on the podcast. Sorry, there's an ambulance going by. I don't know if the mic is picking that up. You can debate, you can debate, you can debate, you can debate, you can debate. The fact is they won the Super Bowl. An opportunity and a championship. Everybody had an equal amount of opportunity to win. They didn't win it. Seattle did. And in convincing fashion. By the way, New England, They won the Super Bowl. They're the best in the world. There's no one better at this specific sport than them. With that championship, now comes a separate set of responsibilities. Because when you're the champion, you're the best. When you're the best, you have the unfortunate honor of representing your peers. You're the best. So that means on the field, off the field. That means staying out of legal trouble. That means if you're going to do endorsements where you're going to be speaking for a brand, you do so in a professional manner. You represent the company well. You represent the NFL well, or whatever brand that's made you a champion. Those are all the things that go with being a champion. The bragging rights, right? How many? I don't know what it is. How many of these GOAT conversations do we have on a daily basis? Not just in sports, but the greatest movie of all time, the greatest television show of all time, the greatest actor of all time, the greatest, doctor of all time, the greatest teacher of all time. It doesn't matter. When you're talking about greats, when you're talking about the greatest, you're having a subjective conversation. You're having a subjective conversation. There's no real answer to the question, who's the greatest of all time? But what a championship does is it answers the question, who's the best right now? That's why when you have conversations about GOATs and about greats, people tend to bring in the championships. Does winning a championship make you a better player than everybody else? Not necessarily. That's why you dwindle the pool down. When you talk about the greatest of anything, you have to dwindle that pool down. You have to get it to a place where you can have a rational conversation. And that's where championships come in, because to be the GOAT, to be the best, you need to win. You need to win your respective sports or events or whatever it was that crowned you a champion. So now you segue this into pro wrestling. And we know that the pro wrestling is predetermined. There's a conversation that takes place before the guys enter the ring, before they perform. And we know that we live in a world where champions are chosen, not necessarily a free-for-all in the ring that results in a champion. The champions are booked. They're selected. This guy's going to win the belt tonight. He's going to beat you inside of 10 minutes, make it look good. We know that that's what the situation is. We get it. And yet, this whole business worked a lot better when the pro wrestling championships existed in the same plane as, say, a sports championship. When people looked at the world champion and said, he's the best talent on earth, he's a world's champion, this business was a lot better because it was easy to convince people that he was great because he had the strap, he had the belt, he was the best. And that's why a lot of companies back in the day didn't have a lot of champions, because we can't all be the best. You can do divisional stuff, like in boxing, where you have a heavyweight champion and a light heavyweight champion and a featherweight champion. And now we have a bantamweight champion. Wrestling used to do that. WWE used to do it. WWE champion. He was the heavyweight champion. He was the all-encompassing champion. But the Intercontinental champion, a little less of a jurisdiction there, but still something. European champion, light heavyweight champion. So you're starting to have some differentiation. When they got to that part, they were having a lot of belts, and some of them did have to go away. Hardcore belt. There was a lot of moving parts, right? But in today's game, I know people are going to point to AEW, but this is not just an AEW problem. There's belts all over the place now. Even indie companies, 5, 6, 7 belts being made. Everyone's got a belt. Having a belt doesn't make you the champion. Being the leader, being the trendsetter, that's what makes you the champion. Being the guy in the locker room that everybody can rely on to be a draw and bring fans to the building, into the seats, and paying attention to the shows and buying the merch and buying the tickets. That's a champion. Now, that may not happen right off rip, especially on the indie level. I could put a belt on you and you can't do any of that yet. But by me putting the belt on you, that's a symbol to the audience that we're going to try. We're going to try to make this a thing. We want this guy to be successful. Jump on board. Support this guy or this lady as we crown them the champion. I heard Vince Russo use the phrase runs, and a lot of people have run with it ever since. I thought the belt's a prop. It's a prop. It's a piece of, it's an object that's used within a story that we sell to the audience. It's not a real championship. They're not really competing for it. So it's just more like a prop. I've always hated that phrase. I hate prop. I feel like it downplays everything that everybody is working towards when they win a championship. People have died in that ring. And people have gotten seriously hurt in that ring. And they would love nothing more than to be back in that ring competing for a championship. It's still supposed to mean something. It's still supposed to mean that it's an important symbol to the audience. Okay? If you want to say, oh, they don't like saying belt, WWE, it's not a belt, right? A belt, something you use to hold up your pants. Not this belt. Hence why its physical appearance is different from a dress belt. You obviously wouldn't be able to put that belt around your pants. The belt loops are too small. Stupid. That's not what that means. It's a symbol. It's a symbol of excellence. This guy is the man. Now, if he's a babyface champion, the goal is to get him to be cheered out of the goddamn building. But if he's a heel champion, the goal is to get him booed out of the entire building. And I don't do this. I'm going to support this answer or this thesis of mine with a conversation. And I don't normally do this, but I have brought it up in the past. So I don't think I'm too far out of the realm of this isn't exactly name dropping or whatever. But one time in my life, and I've worked with this man several times, but there was one man in my life, one time in my life that I was able to have actual conversation with this man. And while brief, a very nice conversation. And I had it with Mick Foley. I was doing a show at Six Flags in New Jersey, Jackson, New Jersey, I think it is. And we had some time before the show, and everyone's kicking around. And I had noticed that there was a trailer off to the side where I needed to speak to the ring announcer at the time, which was Larry Legend, who, by the way, is one of the interviews that I had is going to be coming up. So if you guys want to hear that, it's coming up. If you want to hear it now, head over to Podbean. And they say, hey, go grab these notes or whatever from Larry. He's in the trailer over there. So I go to the trailer over there, and I go inside. And inside this trailer, it's Mick Foley, Ted DiBiase, Ricky Steamboat, Jake the Snake Roberts. There's a fifth. I'm slipping. Was it Tama Tonga? It was somebody new. I can't remember who it was. It was Tama, because Tama was putting the face paint on. And so they're all just bullshitting around. And this is an easy moment to get starstruck and to mark out, yada, yada, yada. But I'm on business. So I'm here to talk to Larry. Larry's doing an on-camera interview. So I got to wait. And while I'm waiting, Mick Foley just starts talking to me. So I start talking to Mick. And like I said, brief. Few things here and there. Talk to Larry, get my notes, whatever I need, get the fuck out. But I got a chance to talk to Mick, and the one thing he said that I always remembered and will always stick out to me, and it's part of the conversation that I have with people when discussing how important it is to be a top guy. Not just the champion, but to be a top guy. Like right now, Roman Reigns is a top guy, but he's not the champion, but he's a top guy. And Mick told me this wonderful story. He was talking about the WrestleMania main event that he had because I had asked him. I said, you did get that one WrestleMania main event. And I said, you had made mention that you weren't in the best of shape for it, but that it was something you had earned. So I always wanted to ask you, like, you're in the main event of WrestleMania, like, how was that day? How was that time spent throughout the day before you get to, you know, the main event of the show, which, by the way, that was WrestleMania 2, 2 2000, the four-way. So it was in Anaheim, California. And he starts telling me about how cool it was and the day. And then he had a realization at that WrestleMania that he told me. He said, it's you work so hard to get to the top. And it's like climbing a mountain without looking down. You don't look behind you. You don't look down. To get to the top, you have to stay singularly focused on getting to the top. And so he did. And he rose and he rose and he rose. Now he's in the middle of WrestleMania. He said that day in Anaheim was the first time I ever had a chance, after all that climbing, to look down. Because he had lost the retirement match in February. In his head, this was a one and done. He wasn't coming back to wrestling ever again. He's going to retire off of his WrestleMania main event, go out on a high note. So he said, I had a chance to look down and really take in what my career had become and really take in what my work had provided for me. And he said something to me that always stuck with me. He said, it's the first time I ever stopped mingling and socializing and just walked. And I got to see all these faces and all these people that are working on this show, putting the ring together, putting the set together, putting together all of the electronics and the cameras and the ring announcers and the commentators, and people are down to the people who are ripping the tickets and sweeping the floors. They all have a job because you are good at what you do. When you train and when you get in the ring, it's selfish. It's for selfish reasons. You always wanted to do this. You're following your dream. You want to be one of the best at it. But in essence, if you really think about it, it's not selfish, because that determination, that will, that fire that you're putting into your career, it lends itself, it causes a radius around you of other people who get to succeed and live their dream based off of your efforts. It's very weird. He said it didn't dawn on him until that day. He said, I'm only going to be in the ring 10 or 15 minutes, maybe. I think he's one of the first ones eliminated from that. He said, I think he was the first eliminated from the match. He said, I'm only going to be out there 10 or 15 minutes. But the success of this show is banked on your 10 to 15 minutes. All of these people have a job and are able to provide for their families, and they get to live their dream of being in this business based on your ability to do what you do in the ring. And ever since he told me that, it just gave me this overwhelming sense of pressure, which I think is good for people, especially in this context. There's pressure there for you to succeed at your very best, because if you don't, the company suffers. Less people are coming to the shows, less people are interested in what you're doing. And when they're not interested in what you're doing, they don't go to the shows. This is the importance of the term that people used back in the day, draws. It was important to be a draw. You could be a great wrestler and not draw. No one will pay to see you. We get it. Shoulder tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag. We get it. We've seen it. Everybody here does it. I'm not going to buy a ticket for that. Then I've seen the opposite. Can't wrestle a lick, but over like Rover. And people are paying to see this guy do whatever the fuck it is that he do. It might not be wrestling, but we know he's dope at what he does. So I'm going to pay to see it. That's the magic of it. To incorporate the worlds, to be able to perform at a high level and do it with a personality and a charisma and a relatability that brings the fans in to come see you perform. As we mentioned last week, be a Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green is her work, her in-ring work is not bad at all. It's actually pretty good, but it's nothing. It doesn't hold a candle to what she does as a performer. Her character work is A1, and it gets her over. And time again. Right? There's a lot of people right now that truly believe in their hearts that Gunther can't wrestle. He's boring. He can't wrestle. He can wrestle. He's just doing it in a way that's pissing you off, and that's his job. That's what it means to be good. Roman Reigns is about to enter, what was it they said? His 7th consecutive WrestleMania main event. That's several years on top. I'm not here to put over Roman. I'm just saying, like, that's a rare thing. So that's why, if you want to bring it back to a lower level, like, say, the indie level, that's why when you look at the company as a whole and figure out why you're not getting any kind of attention or any kind of push or any kind of mention or any kind of just structure to the situation, you're looking for opportunity. You want to be a top guy. I want to carry this company in my back. When they're not giving you the ball, this is where self-evaluation has to come in. How can I force their hand? Not how can I get them to give me what I want? Because I want to be a champion. I want to win a championship. I want to be the guy. I want to be the heavyweight champion of this company. I want to be the world's heavyweight champion. You're not going to get there until you reach out and you fulfill all of these intangibles. And that's just in the ring. Because the factor that no fan ever incorporates into their thinking when it says, well, why is this guy not champion? They got to be easy to work with. You can be the most talented wrestler in the world. If you're difficult, if you question everything, if you go off script, if you do your own thing, if you're injuring people, if you're taking too long on your promos, you just sit here just filleting yourself on camera, they're not going to make you the champion. Because why? They got to work with you. I don't want to deal with the headache that is you over and over and over again. Talent doesn't overwrite anything. You gotta be good inside the ring, good on the mic, a good person, a reliable person, and dependable person. Reliable and dependable are two different things. They really are. To be a champion, you have to be the epitome of everything that company is looking for. And it doesn't matter if they're selecting their champions. In fact, if the NFL or the NBA or the NHL or Major League Baseball or Major League Soccer, if they could control who wins and who doesn't, they would. Because that's smart business. You think the NFL wanted the Patriots and the Seahawks in the Super Bowl? No. Not a lot of star power there. Not a lot going on with that. So no. I don't think that was a situation that they wanted at all. But we played it out. These are the two teams that got in. In pro wrestling, we don't have that issue. We put in the match who we want to put in the match. We have them do what we want them to do. That's it. And that's why some people get upset when a match happens and it ends the way that it does, because they go, this is what you wanted. This is what you chose to happen. This is how you booked it. Well, I could do a better job than this. I could book this, or I could book that, or whatever, whatever people say. You want your champion to be the one person. If all else fails, if the whole roster is a joke, you want your champion to be the one guy in the room where the crowd goes, that's who I came to see. That's the guy. And to give you an example of Chelsea Green, because everyone's all in an uproar right now, and rightfully so, that Michael Hayes made these comments about, well, she's so talented. She's so good at what she does. That she doesn't need to be on TV a whole lot. She doesn't need to be a main eventer. She's the girl that works with the girl, just like there's a guy who works with the guy. Wow, everyone was in an uproar. Oh, but I don't, you can't limit and blah, 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 blah. He didn't say anything wrong. As someone on the internet said, not everybody can be a celebrity. We need carpenters too, and mechanics, and plumbers, and handymen, people in the middle making it happen, the real workers. The industry had it for years, but nobody wants to come into the industry and be a hand. Everybody wants to be a champion. So they're all going out there and buying their own belts to be champion. And all it does is kill shit. I haven't seen AEW in forever, but when last I left it, they had a bunch of belts. And they mean nothing. Because they included a bunch of belts during a time period where they were still trying to get their world championship belt over. They're trying to get their world tag team belts figured out and over with the audience. They were trying so many different things. We didn't need all these belts. But, got to fight for something, right? Indie companies have this issue. I've seen independent wrestling companies 7, 8, 9 belts, and I don't understand it. This is why people say, well, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. You don't need to do 7, 8, 9 different champions and have all these different championship matches. It's not a necessary component to the business. As me and my brother were illustrating before, that it's been a long time since we've had major storylines wrapped around no title. Like Drew McIntyre and Punk is the most recent of memory of a feud or a program that didn't need the championship. At one point, Drew was the champion during the feud, and it cost him 5 minutes after he won it in Philly. But it wasn't about the championship. Get the characters over, get the charisma on display, pull in the audience, and championships will come. Not the other way around. The championship's not going to make you. You have to make the championship. So, in a nutshell, what being a champion means is you're an example. You set the example in the locker room. You're the leader. You're dependable. You're reliable. You work hard. You represent the company well. And you put the company in a position to see you as a top guy that they can use whenever they need to. Because if there's one thing people love more than a champion, is a multiple-time champion. And you don't get to be multiple-time champion by goofing off, bullshitting, and doing your own thing. Champion. It's a high level. It's a high level of esteem to achieve. Even in pro wrestling, where you get to pick. How do you think they pick? I always respond with that with people. Well, he's not a real champion. They chose him to be champion. Why him? Why do you think they chose him? Or why do you think they chose her? Do you think they put a name in a tumbler and just said, ooh, all right, Montez Ford is going to win the WWE Championship? No. They're chosen because they have the same attributes that a real champion in a real sport would have. And that's what makes him being the champion believable. Drew McIntyre looks like he could fuck up half this roster. So you give him the belt and it looks believable. There's a lot of champions that we've had over the years that won world titles. They were an experimental deal, and you find out really quickly it didn't work. You know why it didn't work? Wasn't believable. I didn't get it. So if you're going to be a champion, do it correctly. Do it correctly. Be an upstanding citizen. Lead this locker room. Be a draw and get over. That's a champion. And that's not just pro wrestling. That's everywhere in life. Want to be a champion? You got to step up and do champion shit. That's what being a champion means. Get off the couch, get off your ass, get in there and get the job done. That's what it means.